film sucks. Indie film sucks. It's the Indie Film Sucks podcast. Yeah.
Coming at you from the mean streets of St. Louis, from a basement on South Broadway, the Indie Film Sucks podcast. Because indie film sucks.
Yep. Here we are. Again.
God.
Got 2 hoodies and a short sleeve shirt.
Wow. It's like we were just here.
Yeah. I think we were.
Well, you guys look wonderful, by the way.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brock. And you always look good.
Well, I work real hard. It's a shampoo I use.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Hey, you know how you did that 75 hard?
Yeah.
Seeing a guy on Facebook now who is it true you have to start over if you mess up?
Yes.
He's on day 2 again.
Yeah. I didn't mess up at all. I stuck to it for actually 80-something days, and I'm probably going to do it again. It's pretty cool stuff.
No, I think that's a good.
I don't want to do I can't do the
We couldn't jump to it quick enough to say we're both not doing it.
the one workout's got to be outside.
That was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. Well, you still lift weights, do all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean that's
Okay,
something.
They're over there.
Yeah.
I look at them.
You lift them to move them?
Yeah.
And working outside doesn't mean like lifting weights outside. You can do a hike, you can do a jog, you can do a walk, whatever. Just you got to be outside.
Well, if I'm on South Broadway at night, I'm doing a very fast jog.
You lose some weight pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just thought that was interesting because I was like, I gotta ask Brock if that's true because
That's
he was
good.
very honest on Facebook, going, I screwed up. Now I'm back to day 2. Now I'm doing it at 9 o'clock because I told myself that I would do it. But if he goes, you got to be honest with the whole program.
It is.
If you're not honest, then
It's about making commitments to yourself and sticking to them. And it's actually a really good lesson in life in general. You know, you make promises to everybody else and you keep them, but you always forget to keep the promise to yourself because it's easy to screw yourself over because it's just you.
like Confucius over here. That's beautiful, Brock.
That was one hell of an assignment.
It was, yeah. Oh yeah. He learned some stuff.
I did.
He's been off assignment for a week now. Anyway, what we got on the agenda tonight? What's going on in the world of Red Knighted Skies and Indie Film Sucks and 88 millimeter? Right? What's in the distribution corner?
Oh, distribution corner. It's empty. There's nothing.
No new news. No news.
We still have the same interested parties. We're still exploring all the options. Look, we might go with the distributor, but it just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. But I'll tell you what, man, nothing really seems to make a whole lot of sense. I mean, the streaming services, everything I keep reading, it's all down and negative, and reporting's nowhere to be found, and you don't know what to believe. You get on those forums and you read all that stuff, and there's the one guy who's making $10,000 a month, and then there's the other people who they're losing money.
Yeah, I believe the losing guy, it's like gambling.
Yeah.
Everybody tells you when they win, but nobody tells you when they lose.
Yeah.
Except for an independent film, everybody's a loser.
Everyone's a loser.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to know. You can't really trust all the internet forums as far as information goes. I mean, maybe some of it's true. Maybe some of it's a pile of horseshit. I mean, it's really hard to know. This is the toughest part of the entire process, which is why so many filmmakers, they make a movie, they get to this point, and they're like, oh, fuck this. I know how to make a movie. They go back to make another movie.
Yeah, so we're trying to make the best decision because we want to give our investors money.
Right,
and we want to make money.
Maximize the profits back. I agree with you.
So we're not pulling the trigger on anything too quick these days because we want to make a really good decision.
So the self-distribution corner is exactly what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Jerry's still out. We're still trying to see what that is. And then what about the festival? There's 4 corners. I'll just go around the room there a little bit. What about the festival corner? I saw we got in a couple more. Or we got, what's that March date we got? What is that? What is that festival? Don't we have one coming up we got one coming up in March, right?
We do. It's
Lewis and Clark.
At the Lewis and Clark Theater over in Godfrey, Illinois. Always late TV and Movie Awards Festival.
Yep.
Seems like a nice, neat little regional festival. I think we're in Chicago Horror Festival. I do not know if we are in Paul Hibbard's Hysteria Fest. It'd be cool if we were.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we're just waiting to hear back. But at least I can go on Film Freeway and I can look at the checklist and it says you'll be notified by X date.
Yep.
In the old Without a Box submission platform, there was just you just shoot it out there and hope you hear something back, and maybe you will, maybe you won't.
No. So I think that's all the corners, right? To catch our fans up on,
that was 3
on
corners.
everything. So what do we want to teach them about tonight? What experience are we going through? We just met with our lawyer. Do we want to dive into that, or is that too risky? Or
no, it's part of the suck, but it's actually it's a necessity.
Right.
It really is, and I mean, from the very beginning, I believe you should probably have some type of legal assistance from making. When you're doing a pitch deck and you're talking to potential investors, you want it to look professional, and there's some legal jargon in some of these pitch decks, and then if you are lucky enough to get an investor involved, you want it to have real legal contracts, and you want a lawyer to write them up, not just
get them off the internet, which
yeah.
works,
I mean,
but
You can.
yeah.
you can. I mean, we've done some of that in the past for different types of documents, but we want to make sure we're not going to misrepresent ourselves, and we don't want the investor to feel like they're being duped. So when you have a real legal counsel and you have real legal papers, man, it makes you look professional.
No, you are. We are professional. It just
I mean, to everybody out
right?
there.
It just we stepped up to that professional level by having a legal counsel to represent the film, not necessarily 88, which we do have that as well.
Mm-hmm.
He would do that as well, or the firm would. So when did we decide? So you guys were in this before I came on board. When did you decide that was key? I know for Red Knight, because it was always you guys had it before I came on board.
The initial time we contacted an attorney was for our film Sound of Nothing, which we were having some back end issues. Not going to go into it any further than that, but we contacted an attorney for that, and this was 2016-ish, something like that, right when we partnered up officially.
So back end distribution issues.
Back end
okay.
distribution issues.
Okay.
And so when we were going forward with the boxing film Cruiser, we had legal counsel representing us for that when we drew up all the contracts and got all the investor paperwork squared away. So everything was above board and legitimate. And then we just carried that over into Red Knighted Skies.
Yeah, so when you're dealing with investments, you got to make sure you don't mess with the SEC and go above your investment totals as far as how many people you can have investing in
Right.
your movie in your state, which in Missouri I believe it's 25 before the SEC gets involved, and then it's a whole other headache, which I don't even understand at all. But I was just told to stay clear of more than 25 investors.
You're like, watch out, we're getting close. We're getting close.
And there's all sorts of ways you can kind of get around that. Like if you have 5 investors, they could form a group, a partnership
An
group,
LLC, yeah.
and basically
That's one.
invest as one in it.
That's
Yeah.
one, right? And
There are loopholes, yes.
right, and I think, right, you guys had 2 legal counsels, right? You had a company you were using, and then we moved to
Yeah, we had
to our
one
current legal
we had one
counsels.
law firm, and they were great. They were just really, really expensive, and we moved to a second law firm, who I think is they're more reasonable, and I think our attorney is much more invested in film production in the state of Missouri and in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important from a standpoint of not thinking about legal at all. Amphetamine, right? Didn't think about it.
Didn't even have insurance. Did nothing.
Right.
Barely had any money.
Well, that's another thing, right? As far as like when you get into these major contracts, like Mosley's was simple.
Yeah.
It was something we could do ourselves. I redlined it myself. But getting into something as you get into bigger things, and even when you get into renting spaces or what that legal thing is, having that person that you can go to is key to be vested in that film with you. Because I think we would even expand our legal presence on the next film.
Oh, certainly.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because that's the whole point. It's when we're talking about investors, it's a legal contract, right? Even if you write it up yourself on a napkin, it's still a legal binding contract. I give you $1,000, you pay me back $1,200. right? You know, that's still with, of course, the clause that if I don't make $1,200, then I don't get that money back, right? Or whatever the deal you make is. So whatever legal contract you have, it's always better to have an attorney look over it.
Right, because that way you could go back to the attorney if you had any discrepancies, and they would be able to decipher it, or they were the ones who wrote it, as opposed to pulling some off the internet,
Yeah.
where you don't have that backing of somebody who wrote it. But getting away from investors, because I know that's important.
Well, one more thing, real quick.
Yeah.
So, a lot of investors are pretty savvy anyway and have their own lawyers because they invest in many things. So, it's a pretty good idea to go and have something look professional so they can give it to their lawyer to where, you know, they know you're on the up and up as well. You know, it's not written on a napkin.
Yeah.
Even though they can tell it's professional.
Yeah, and I think we covered investors. That's key to raising the money.
Yeah.
You want that to be professional, but the legal side of things, like you said, we had to go out and try to protect ourselves from a distributor,
Yes.
right? Or figure that out. That's where you first thought of going, I can't do this myself. I need legal representation.
Well, before you sign any contract with a distributor or with anyone really, have an attorney look over it. That's very important because there's a lot of legalese in a contract which does not necessarily translate into common English for you to understand, and you can end up in a deal that you had no idea that you were signing away your rights for everything for God knows how long.
I think building that relationship with that legal counsel or that attorney or that firm, like you said, Brock or Chris, it's they're vested and they understand the industry, right? And they're trying to make Missouri better, or they're trying to do things, and they understand guys like us, right? A billable hour might be a little different than somebody that's in something else. I think that's important. But getting them involved early, understanding where you are and who you are, to have that whole gamut covered is, I think, what I don't think a lot of independent filmmakers have or considered on what can go wrong, where they can help you with an investment standpoint from building that out. And then I guess, C is if you do get in distribution trouble or have to go after somebody or write a letter, kind of in a situation we're in now with one of our films, which we can get into that, is key from them working that whole process with you, right? I just think that's something where I think we would add more to our clauses, our film on the next one, right? On how we would use this certain person if we can afford them.
Sure.
Right? Because you can rack up a bill very easy. Some things you have to do on your own. We're
Yes,
not
you
going to
can.
have them review a lot of things, but to be protected, I don't think a lot of independent filmmakers consider the attorney side of things, right? You got the camera, you got this, you got this, you got this. I think legal representation should be up there in your top, as something you need to add to your budget.
Yeah, it could be really well worth the expense
Yeah.
because it could cost you everything.
Right. And we can go into why we think that. We talked a little bit about they helped set up investors perfectly from a legal side of things. They helped with a situation with a distributor, right?
Yeah.
And now we have something where we have a relationship with this person, and we were able to call them immediately and said, hey, we have this situation with a particular property of ours that is still out there, and we thought we had the rights back, and it's still out there. What?
Well, here's another consideration. So it's not necessarily about bringing a lawsuit against someone. Matter of fact, if you can avoid bringing a lawsuit against someone, that's the best way to go, because at our level, it's really tough to recover a lot of money.
The expense.
The expense of, and even a good lawyer will tell you, like, look, it's going to cost you more in billable hours than you're going to get out of this. So a really good thing for an attorney is to use them to sort of rattle sabers and put the fear of God into someone. Say, look, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then we're coming after you. And a lot of people, some people are just like, I don't care, come after me. But other people are like, oh, well, I don't want that. I don't want this hassle. So here's what I didn't do, or here's the money I owe you, or I will take this copyrighted material down, or whatever it is. So just having the backing of the lawyer to say, look, we will prosecute this to the full extent of the law if you don't comply. We'll get a fair number of people to comply, which is what you want.
Yeah, they don't want to put up the hassle either.
No.
But having that relationship up front and being able to turn to somebody and go, hey, remember this, or remember that property, or remember that property you worked on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here's what we're having issues down the road. Yeah, absolutely. We can go ahead and send that off. I don't know if you want to get in our particular situation,
I
not
don't
naming
think-
names or anything.
No,
but
I wouldn't name any names or anything. But our situation is, we do have a property, like you said, that we have 100% of the rights to, and we've had it for years. And our plan was to remaster this film and put it out ourselves. And lo and behold, it's out there right now. And we didn't give any rights to anyone to put it on any platform.
It's out there, not from our old distributor, but from a third party
yeah, how'd you find it?
by accident.
Yeah, that's exactly, because it's been out there for a while.
Yeah.
And you found it by accident.
By accident, and I was shocked. And it's not like it's on some sort of pirate base site, because your stuff is going to get pirated. Okay, here's the other thing. And I've talked to some filmmakers about this. They're very indignant. I'm like, look, man, your stuff is going to get pirated. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't fight it. Someone in Mongolia,
Wherever.
yeah, is streaming your film, and you're not getting a nickel, and that's just part of the game.
Right. Good luck getting that guy to take it down.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a legitimate site, or actually, it's on a couple of legitimate streaming sites,
That's right.
and they are misrepresenting that they have ownership of this property, because our contract ended in 2008, I believe.
Or
Or-
started in 2015.
Or it
Yeah.
ended, it ended 8 years ago.
Or they don't know they're misrepresenting because they thought they did something else, right? And that's
Yes.
I think that's what's key is going. You need that representation, just like you just said, to send that letter, make that phone call, to go. I need to know why this is out there.
Yeah, what's strange about the whole thing is when Chris found out and got a hold of me, which was not too long ago, he said it's kind of weird because we hadn't pushed this movie at all. We had it in our pocket, and we look at how many views it has gotten, and it's amazing.
Yeah, even since we first looked, how many views it's got
Yeah.
doubled. The views have doubled, right?
Yeah, it's around 400,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Just don't read the comments.
Well, we won't tell them. They can look for themselves.
Actually, some comments are very good, and others are the typical, I could have done a better job. This was like two monkeys with a helmet cam made this movie. I'm
No,
like,
here's the
well,
challenge.
they don't even know which movie we're talking about anymore.
Go to our website, find all our movies, search them on the internet, and you tell me which movie it is. That's how you can find it. No, we don't want to get too deep into it
No.
because we're trying to, and we don't want to name certain things because we're trying. Now we just met with our council and we're starting to take the process of doing what we need to do.
And here's one thing. The first thing we did, which we did not do. Okay, whenever you
Yes.
create a piece of property,
Right. Yeah.
it is copyrighted, right? If you write a script, that the date you're done with it, that is the copyright date. Okay, you don't have to register with the WGA. However, if you want to fully protect your property, you do need to register it with the U.S. Copyright Office. Something we never did because my understanding always was, oh, well, it's our property. It's copyright us because we created it. We're the owners.
That and only pretentious people do that shit.
No, it's something that you don't know or consider.
No,
or,
you need to register the copyright.
Yes.
Because that way you can go back for all the damages from the point of origin, basically.
Correct. So if you discover it 5 years later and it was copyrighted originally even 2 years before that 5 years, right?
Yeah.
You can say, hey, you either had to look it up to see who owned it, or you can go back to them for every dime that they made off of that. So that's something. And what is it, $25, $65? It's very cheap to send something in to get something
Yeah,
copyrighted.
it's like 65
From an
something like
independent
that.
film in our experience. We don't know that that'll be our experience for whatever you're trying to copyright, but that was our experience.
Yeah. So, well, it's not. You have a copyright, but this is a registered with the U.S. Copyright
for
Office.
protection above and beyond just the protection that just having a copyright gets.
Yes.
Because there is protection.
Yes.
Once you notify somebody that it's copywritten, then you can get damages going forward if they don't do anything.
Yeah.
But you can't go back and get pre stuff
No.
unless it was registered.
Yes.
That's from what I understand from what
Yes.
they were telling us. So very cheap. I think you got to do it as an independent filmmaker to protect yourself from a legal standpoint, if anything else.
Just in case somebody steals your stuff.
Right. Right. And on a site that is noticeable. not these pirated things
Yeah.
where you find yourself on something else where you're never going to find the guy who put it out there.
No, you're not going to get any of that money. Just forget, that's a wash. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is on a big streaming site. It's on a couple, but one is everyone knows this site. everyone knows this site.
Do you two know the site?
Yeah,
Okay. Just,
yeah,
I do now.
yeah. So anyway, it's just another.
No, we went back and took every single one of our properties and did the exact same thing for them.
Yeah.
So going forward, we at least got a date that says if anything happens from this date forward, we can get full damage and restitution for it. So
And hopefully it won't be an issue. But I mean, there's a lot of dishonest people in the world, so you just have to protect yourself from that.
yeah, so
And the only way to do that fully is to have legal counsel.
yeah. So more or less, we have our counsel writing up, a letter saying what? I remember us talking to him. You took more notes than I did, Mackie. And
yeah, I mean it was basically like we said, like you just said, Chris, is we're probably not going to pursue something from a legal standpoint. We're not gonna threaten to sue because
we're not saying that. We're not
right.
going
But
to.
what we're going to do is make a phone call, send a letter that just says, "Hey, we found this. It's not yours. We want to understand how you got it," and just put some demands in there that just say, "Hey, our clients are looking for this, this, and this."
Mm-hmm.
Right? About 2 hours worth of work, I think, is what they were saying. It
Yeah.
probably takes, and we should get a response from this company.
And we did not ask for a cease and desist yet, correct?
No, I mean, it's going to be implied, but no, we did not ask for a cease and desist because we want to understand how they got it, what they plan on doing with it. Can you work with my client to pay them what you owe them for being it out there? And is there a program going forward for my client to continue to have it out there?
Yeah. And if they tell us to kick sand, we say, okay, well, you have to take it down.
Right. So either way, we win. But I think having that direction from a legal standpoint, they know how to position that letter, that conversation to put us in the best position.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have to do it.
Right.
And we have the power of pretty nice law firm that holds some credibility.
And we have our original contract all spelled out in black and white, so there is no gray area in this whatsoever.
Right. And so we'll update. We can update everybody. You don't have another show on this once we understand.
Yeah, because we don't know if there's any money involved, or if there's some money involved. It'd be great because we know it's ad based, on
Yeah.
Mm.
the streaming services. So
And they paid
There's something.
something to get it.
Yeah.
Something happened or how they got it. There had to have been a deal there. But even if there's no money in it, it's the idea behind it that we have to do something.
Yeah, well, I mean, what our attorney said was it might not be much money, but it's not zero.
right.
That number is not zero.
Correct.
There is a number.
Right. Yep.
Could be $5 and a 6-pack of Busch Light.
Yeah. So we're coming out of a contract with distribution. And I think it's important that we have this legal counsel because I think you did a good job, Chris, of actually notifying them 6 months prior to, I think it ends in June, of saying, hey, we have no desire to re-up this. It's our intention to exit this when the contract's up.
Correct.
They sent us some checks, and there was a nice little interchange there. What I asked the lawyer the other day was, hey, do you think it's a good idea to say, hey, how about the final kind of all the reporting and all this kind of stuff and start positioning for that? And he was like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea because you've notified them. You want something that they should be able to get you. And now he kind of made some notes. And now if I bring it up to our lawyer again and going, hey, we didn't get this or our final checks, I think it's something that he could possibly pursue on our behalf.
He also said
Yep.
to go ahead and add that we have legal representation on that.
Oh,
letter, too.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he was just like, add this, and I wrote down the little phrase, and I can't remember what it was, but I wrote it down in my notes. Like, hey, just go ahead and stick this in there, Chris. Like, and I was just like, perfect, because that cost us nothing.
Yeah, correct.
They just wanted to let them know that if they had any further questions, this is my lawyer.
Right.
That's more or less what it was.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great, but
Yeah.
but even
a
that's on
little
the other
nudge.
side of things, right? On
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
contract.
it's just
side
a
of
little nudge saying, we're ready if bullshit happens.
things. Right.
Yeah.
So what did we learn tonight, kids? We learned legal representation is important.
Yes.
Legal reputation is important.
Copyright
Copyright.
Copyright.
Registered copyright.
Registered copyright
That's important.
is good.
The lows. What else we learn?
Oh, we learned about the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens. True independent filmmaking. The Indie Film Sucks podcast, brought to you by 88mm Productions. Blah, 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 blah.
Hey, should we get this copyrighted?
Maybe.
Maybe
Okay.
I don't
Maybe
know.
next time.
Stealing it. please put that out there and get us promotion. All right, I expect to see
night.
103 people next
Yes.
week.
Indie film sucks. Indie film sucks. It's the Indie Film Sucks